Welcome to this lecture on special or specific deductions. The terms are used interchangeably. Basically, if we are looking at our tax framework, we are looking at our deductions and allowances section now. There are three deductions and allowances categories. We've got the general deduction formula, special or specific deductions, and capital allowances. Now, remember, just as a quick reminder, the capital allowances and special deductions, these sections will always be considered first before looking at the general deduction formula. In other words, they take preference over the general deduction formula. So what does that mean? It means that you might have an expense, and I'm going to just use a simple one like legal costs. Now, legal costs discussed in section 11C, but it might also be that if you look at the general deduction formula, it meets all of those requirements. So it might mean that you say, I can deduct it under section 11C and I can deduct it under section 11A. Now, first up, you can't claim a double deduction. So that's the first thing, you can't get two claims. The second thing is, you will always look at the specific deduction first, and that deduction will tell you what to do. Now, that deduction might tell you to deduct it in a certain manner, over a certain period of time, a certain percentage, whatever the case might be, but that takes preference over the general deduction formula. Only if there is no special deduction or no capital allowance available will you consider the general deduction formula. Now, that seems like the general deduction formula is considered last, and it is, but remember the majority of transactions actually are deducted under the general deduction formula. It's only some deductions which are special deductions, and that's what we're going to be looking at in this lecture. So, as I've mentioned to you guys already, please note that the special deduction will always take preference. Alright? And please note that you can't get a double deduction under section 23B. So our first section that we're going to talk about is pre-trade expenditure, and this is section 11, capital A, make sure that you see. Now, can you remember when you looked at the general deduction formula? The general deduction formula, if I just summarize it quickly in words, in short little sentences, says, if you carry on a trade, then it is expenditure and losses actually incurred during the year of assessment in the production of income and not capital nature. That's your general deduction formula, just if we had to summarize it briefly. The first requirement says you must be carrying on a trade, and that is the preamble to section 11. And what is a preamble? A preamble is the sentence that you need to apply to everything underneath it. So, section 11 starts and says, for the purpose of determining the taxable income derived by any person from carrying on any trade, there shall be allowed as deductions from such income so derived. So when you look at the general deduction formula, section 11A, it means you first say there's a trade and then you can claim the deduction. When we look at all of the others, section 11C, for example, legal costs, you're also going to say, if you carry on a trade, you can claim a deduction. So this sentence is the first sentence for everything under section 11. Now, what is important about it? It says you must be carrying on a trade. Now think about what this means, guys. Carrying on a trade, if you recall, and if you're going to look at the definition of trade in section 1, it's very broad. What is not the carrying on of a trade? When you earn passive income, such as interest or dividends, okay, so that's not carrying on a trade. Remember, if renting out a property, you might feel like it's passive income, but it's not. It is considered, you have to actively work with the tenant or actively manage a property, it's not a passive income, right? It is an actual trade. But now, let's say, and I'm going to use this as an example, is that there is a taxpayer that's going to start a new business, and this business is going to make shoes. Okay? So I'm just for interest, for simplicity's sake, let's say he decided this on the 1st of March. Let's use a tax year. Remember, a tax year for a natural person runs from 1st of March until the end of Feb. Okay, so on the 1st of March, he decides he's going to have this business that makes shoes. Now, he has to go and buy machines and get a property to rent and set up the shop, advertise, or get everything ready to run this business. So let's say March, April, and May. It takes him until the 31st of May, where he's just setting this up. So from the 1st of June, he starts trading. Now, all of the expenses you incur after the 1st of June when he starts trading, you can claim as a normal deduction because he's carrying on a trade. But these expenses before this business started, you can't claim under Section 11 because Section 11 says you must be carrying on a trade, and they do not. Now what we'll see is that Section 11A allows you to take these pre-trade expenditure, and it will allow you to claim a deduction for it once you start trading. So let's first just read it in the Act, and then we'll talk about it in more detail. So it says, for purposes of determining taxable income derived during any year of assessment by a person from carrying on any trade, there shall be allowed as a deduction from the income so derived any expenditure and losses. Okay, so up to there. So again, guys, this is talking about calculating taxable income if you are carrying on a trade, and it says you can claim the following as a deduction. You can claim expenditure and losses. Here we go. Actually incurred by that person prior to the commencement of and in preparation of that trade. So can you see prior, pre-trade expenditure, right? Which would have been allowed as deduction in terms of Section 11, 11B, 11D, or Section 24J. Now, they tell you the entire Section 11 except for Section 11X. Okay, Section 11X, not important for now. Section 11. So it tells you your general deduction formula, your legal costs, all of those things will qualify for this. Section 11B, don't have to worry about. Section 11D, don't have to worry about. Section 24J is interest. Right, and they say, so actually incurred prior to the commencement of that trade, which would have been allowed as a deduction in terms of Section 11, had the expenditure or losses been incurred after the person commenced carrying on that trade. Alright, so what are they telling us there, guys? They say, if you are carrying on a trade, so I'm going to take you back to my example. Let me remind you, this person decides to carry on a business. From the 1st of March to the 31st of May, he prepares the business, so that's the pre-trade expenditure. From the 1st of June, he starts trading. So Section 11A says, if you are trading, so from this period of time, and you incurred expenditure before, so prior to the commencement of trade, then you can claim it as a deduction. They say, and if they were not allowed as a deduction in that year or any previous year of assessment. So they're saying you must not have claimed it already. Again, you can't claim a double deduction. So Section 11A says if you are carrying on a trade, so once you have started trading, you can then claim these pre-trade expenditure. So let's quickly talk about that principle then. This means that if this person decides from the 1st of March to the 31st of May to carry on trading, but let's say right before this business has to open, start trading, this person decides I'm not going to do it anymore, so no trade takes place. That means then, in terms of Section 11A, you can't claim a deduction because it tells you that you must be carrying on a trade. So in other words, it means you can only claim these pre-trade expenditure from the trade once it has started. So if your new trade never starts, then you never get to claim the pre-trade expenditure. So you can only claim it if you are actually carrying on a business and a trade. Okay? A couple of extra rules around this. So much of the expenditure and losses contemplated in subsection 1, so they say this pre-trade expenditure, as exceeds the income. This income is gross income less exempt income, derived in the year of assessment from carrying on a trade after the deduction of any amounts allowable in that year of assessment in terms of any other provision of this Act, shall not be set up against any income of that person which is derived otherwise from carrying on a trade. Okay, so I'm going to read that sentence to you again. Before I do, let me explain to you what they're saying, then I'm just going to show you where they tell you this. They say, this, once you start trading, if I take you back to this example, so remember now in our example, this person started trading on the 1st of June. Now let's say they make income, so gross income less exempt income, of 150,000 rands, and the expenses incurred after started to trade, so after the 1st of June. So the actual expenditure, right, those expenses are, let's say, 80,000 rands. That leaves us with 70,000 rands. They say this pre-trade expenditure that you are allowed can't be more than the 70,000 rand. So let's say your pre-trade expenditure was 100,000 rand. You will only be allowed to deduct 70,000 rand, so to take your income down to nil here. And the remaining balance of it will be carried forward to the next year, and next year you will apply the same principle to it. So it's carried forward. Okay, so they don't want you to create a loss. Remember, what I'm talking about a loss, you are allowed losses. So for example, let's say you had 150,000 and you spent 180,000 rands. That will give you a 30,000 rands assessed loss for tax purposes. But that is only for expenses incurred after trading. Now that amount is allowed. They just don't allow you to do that with pre-trade expenditure. Okay, so let's go and see it in that paragraph. So it says, so much of the expenditure and losses contemplated in subsection 1. So they say, so much of the pre-trade expenditure, so I'm going to change it, so much of the pre-trade expenditure that exceeds the income after deducting from that amount any amounts allowable in this act. So in my example, which I originally had here, just clean it up quickly again, that is where, sorry, 80,000, that is where they tell us this is the income after deducting those expenses. You are left with 70,000. So they say the pre-trade expenditure which exceeds, so the 100,000 rands which exceeds the 70,000 rands will not be allowed as a deduction, shall not be set off against any income of that person. So that is why you're not allowed to do it. Right, so you will carry it forward to the next year. Also important here, guys, there's another principle, and this is just from principles which are discussed in Interpretation Note 51, which you can read through. I do discuss them here. But Interpretation Note 51, this is a principle that SARS say. They say you can only deduct it from a specific trade. Now, let me explain. This person wants to have a business that makes shoes. Let's say he starts two businesses at the same time. One that makes shoes and one that bakes bread. Okay. To be quite different. You can't take the pre-trade expenditure from the shoes business and deduct it against the making bread business. That's the principle they say there. Okay, that's the one. The next principle which I just quickly want to discuss is the following. It must be a new trade. Okay, so what does that mean? So let's say we've got a supermarket, so a grocery store. We all know what that is. In South Africa, we have one called Pick n Pay. I'm going to just use Pick n Pay. Now, if Pick n Pay, so Pick n Pay has stores that sells groceries. If Pick n Pay opens up a new grocery store, that is not a new trade. They already are trading in groceries. This is just an extension of the business. Not a new trade. Pre-trade expenditure, if they incur pre-trade expenditure there, they can't deduct it. They have to prove that they're carrying on a trade. Okay, but if Pick n Pay now decides we're now going to start selling second-hand cars, that's not their business. So they're still doing it under Pick n Pay. So it's not a new company. Remember, a company is an individual, a legal person. So it must be the same company. So they start a new business selling second-hand cars. Then they can claim Section 11A. But they can only claim that against income from this business. So if this business never makes income, they never get to claim it. Right, and then I just wanted to note, interest to you guys, same concept here, pre-production and post-production. This is pre-trade and post-trade, if you want to call it that. Pre-trade deduction, the interest, you can deduct under Section 11A like we just saw. And once you have started trading, it's deductible under Section 11A and Section 24J. Section 24J is when there's an interest component. It is the more important section, and it's something that you'll study separately.